Okay, so when you look at a really beautiful model horse, I mean a high-end one, your eye goes right to the surface, right? The shading, the
Oh,
dapples.
absolutely. The realism of the paint job is the first thing you see.
But the data we're digging into today argues that if you're collecting for, value or just for longevity, that paint job is the wrong place to start.
It really is. You have to look at the bones of the thing, the material it's actually made from.
So that's our mission today. We're unpacking this sort of turf war in casting materials using industry data that goes all the way back to the 80s.
We're pitting the two heavyweights against each other, polyurethane versus polyester resins.
And the goal here isn't just to talk about plastic, it's to figure out why our sources say that where the resin comes from and how fresh it is.
Are actually scientific necessities, not just some marketing buzzwords.
Okay, let's start with the chemistry. Before reading this, I just assumed resin was, well, resin. But the industry draws a really hard line. They call American-made polyurethane the gold standard.
Right.
So why is that the benchmark?
It all comes down to something called controlled cross-link density.
Okay, that sounds technical.
It does, but think of it like a fishing net at a molecular level. In a really good polyurethane, that net is incredibly tight and uniform.
A perfect grid.
Exactly. When it cures, it creates this structure that's really strong, but, and this is the key, it isn't brittle.
And that structure is what dictates the shrinkage, right? That stat was the one that really jumped out at me from the notes.
It's everything, yeah. A high-grade polyurethane shrinks less than 1% as it cures,
Less than one.
which means the final cast looks exactly like the original sculpture, but the alternative, this polyester composite, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, the data on polyester was, it was pretty harsh. It said it has a weak base network.
And that, putting it politely, polyester resin is chemically just. It's different. By itself, it's too brittle for this kind of detailed artwork.
So they have to add things to
They
it.
have to charge it, yeah. They bulk it up with fillers just to stop it from cracking apart.
I saw that list of fillers. It read like a shopping list for a construction site.
Ah.
Marble dust, stone powder.
Talc, even wood flour.
Yeah.
And that creates a massive volume problem. Because while the polyurethane is shrinking less than 1%, these polyesters,
They shrink how much?
anywhere from 4 to 10%.
10%. That seems like a disaster if you're trying to capture like a tiny vein on a horse's nose.
It's massive. You lose all that fine detail. That's why the sources say polyester is fine for a big garden statue or maybe an architectural column.
Things where precision doesn't matter as much.
Right. But for a model horse,
Yeah.
you just lose that dimensional stability. It feels heavy, sure, but it's much more prone to shattering.
Okay, so we've established polyurethane is the better chemical here. But the sources don't stop there. They get really obsessed with where it comes from.
This is the geography factor.
And I'll be honest, when I see made in the USA on something, my first thought is usually, okay, this is a nationalism thing or a way to justify a higher price.
Of course, that's the standard assumption.
But these texts, they treat it like a chemical handling issue, not a marketing one.
Because it is. It's about purpose-built chemistry. The big U.S. makers they mention, like Smooth On, Polytech, they create these small batch formulas specifically for art. They have a very low viscosity.
Meaning it flows more easily, like water.
Exactly like water. It gets into every microscopic crack in the mold without trapping air.
Yeah.
Compare that to a lot of the foreign polyurethanes. They're often made for industrial things.
Car parts, construction, that kind of thing.
They're built for hardness, not fine detail. And it leads to the wildest part of this for me. The idea that resin has an expiration date.
I know. I didn't realize we were dealing with perishables.
They are highly reactive chemicals. They degrade over time. That's why freshness is so important. If you're shipping liquid resin across an ocean.
It's sitting in a hot container for weeks.
Exactly. It's baking, it's freezing, it's dealing with humidity. That long travel time actually alters the cure rate. And the sources point to a side effect called microporosity.
Which is just a fancy way of saying tiny holes, isn't it?
That's all it is. You get these little pinholes on the surface. You might not even see them when the model is new.
But years later,
Years later, or if you strip the paint for a custom job, you find this pitted, ruined surface. All because the chemistry was compromised before it was even poured.
so if we boil this all down for the collector, you aren't just buying a sculpture. You're kind of investing in the raw materials supply chain.
That's the perfect way to put it. The takeaway here is that a model cast in the U.S. with fresh, art-grade resin, it has a much better chance of having that glass smooth surface everyone wants.
And it has a better chance of lasting. It's the difference between an heirloom and a piece of plastic that might warp or crack in 10 years.
Which protects the financial value of the whole collection.
That is a really sobering thought. So here's something to leave you with. The next time you're admiring a model, looking at that incredible paint job, just ask yourself, is that beauty only skin deep, or is the chemistry underneath built to survive the next generation?